that'll work. That'll work. I was supposed to be going out today, but I kind of decided against that because I'm not. Just want to get over my old man back. So I'm going to show you some gameplay footage in a second, but when I'm talking about this, I want to talk about why I think Chronos is overrated. Partially, it's I see a lot of people buying Chronos on healers. I see a lot of people buy Chronos on Ying. It's not needed. I see a lot of people buying Chronos on Dal, but it's not there. And realistically, let's look. There's a couple abilities you do not need Chronos. There's a couple of characters with no cooldowns that you basically don't need any Chronos for. And a lot of people forget that you can make builds that reduce your cooldowns. Like, the whole purpose of loadouts is to partially reduce your cooldown. I see some people out there tell me, no, that is not at all what cooldowns are used for. I've used Tyra before, so I'm trying to stay away from that. But a great example is Makoa. I've had a lot of people tell me that, you know, their idea of a Makoa build is going to be, say, increase the duration of the shield, damage reduction after hitting the hook, movement speed after eliminations, increase the shell spin, the distance of shell spin, and then receive more health when below a certain amount of health. They do not believe in all in putting cooldown reduction cards in your loadout because that's what Chronos is for. Same thing, they don't believe in reload speed cards because that's what Death Dance is for. And I find that a bit cheesy. To be honest, I really do. The other problem I see a lot of people doing is buying Chronos for just one ability. They buy Chronos for one ability. That annoys me. That really irritates me and gets on my nerves. So I want to start with a couple of champions on why Chronos is not necessarily, and they're mostly going to be healers. And people are going to say, oh, I'm a hypocrite because I use it on Grok. Well, the reason I use it on Grok is because he has only one cooldown reduction card for his totem, and that is Gale. And if you look, he has a lengthy cooldown on the Ghost Walk and the totem, so Chronos on him makes sense. Now, looking at a champion like Grover has a 10-second cooldown on Blossom. I will buy Chronos on that just so I can get the Vine to go along with it more often. And no, I don't want, because there's no real way to reduce the cooldown on your Vine. The best thing you can do is to hit somebody with a Cripple Axe to reduce the cooldown, but the most you can get out of it is 5 seconds. And now you've lost your Cripple Axe, which you might need for something else. So, for me, I really think that Grover can use it, and the other character I think can use it is Pip. Now, Pip has lower cooldowns. Pip has actually the lowest cooldown totals that I'm probably going to be talking about. But I want to mention why I have it here, and I'm showing you on this screen before I actually bring us over to the shooting range to show you why. You know, you've got 8 seconds, 10 seconds, and 8 seconds. Why Chronos is so overrated is because of the fact that it's too expensive to go along with things. Now, he, again, doesn't have a good enough cooldown reduction card. This is pretty much the only way you can reduce the cooldown on your heal. You can take up to 2 seconds off waitlist to drop it down to 8. And you can take up to 3 seconds off your explosive flask and bring it down to 5. It's not great, but it does have some viability. So he does work well with Chronos. Now, those are like the 3 healers I think need Chronos. There's a couple of tanks, obviously, that need Chronos. I can make the argument for Torvald, because between your recharge and your protection, you pretty much you could use to have it. I can make the same argument for Khan. Khan is a different story. Now, Khan is the only champion in the game that has just 2 singular cooldowns that I will buy Chronos with. And that's because they're 12 and 15 seconds. Now, you can drop your Battle Shout down to 5 seconds when I'm playing my healer build. But even then, it's still pretty lengthy. To be honest, as long as Anara's cooldowns are, you don't really need it on her because they do last a while. Her Earthian Guard lasts a long time. Her Warder's Field, I'm trying to do that. Where ground, it pulses the ground and that. Her Warder's Field lasts a long time. Her wall lasts a long time, and it has a good cooldown reduction card. She also has an elimination card in her line. She doesn't really need it. I say Nando doesn't really need it. You're not really using that charge all that often. You have a good enough cooldown card on the Fireball if you're trying to do that. And if you're going for the shield build, you pretty much want to run Aegis with that. So Makoa, again, he's got longer cooldowns. They're all double digits. I could see it on him, but it really would be a waste compared to Morale Boost. He has the slowest rate of ult charge in the game. So Ashe, I could see it, but she does have good cooldown cards, so I wouldn't necessarily say that she really needs it that bad. Barrack is another champion. Now, Barrack is interesting because he has good cooldown cards. He has Aerotronics if you want to reduce cooldowns on turrets. He has a bowling ball build if you want to get the cooldown on rocket boots down, and a fortified build if you want to get the shield down. So he doesn't need that. So looking at tanks and supports, I see your tanks and supports just grabbing Chronos all the time. It doesn't need to. So I go to the shooting range, and I will show you now some of what I'm talking about. Because one thing you have to realize is the economy of the game. The economy of the game is very important. I remember when aggression used to be in the game. And aggression was it was the 5th red item in the game. It cost 400 credits, and
the strength of the team is each member. And the strength
we're gonna
of each
start
member
on Genos, actually.
team.
So I'm gonna put on my best healing build with him. So we put on Luminary and then Life Hero. So this has a 2-second cooldown reduction on it. Now the important thing to note on Genos, and this becomes very critical to me, why I don't buy Chronos on Genos, is because I'm reducing the cooldown of my heal from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, but I'm also increasing the duration from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. So this is going to be an important factor. Also, lift the gun if you want. So this is what I want to explain. So in the old days, there used to be an extra red item next to Wrecker that was called... It was actually next to Deft Hands, because Deft Hands used to be here. Caught used to be here. Wrecker used to be here. Deft Hands used to be here. And then you had Aggression to the right of it. And it cost 400 credits. So what you would do is you had Aggression, which increased the amount of damage you did by 5, 10, and 15%. This is also back in the days when Haven reduced damage by 10, 20, and 30%. So one person would buy max tier Aggression, the other person would buy max tier Haven, and they would still have enough credits to pick up 2 other items, like Cauterize and Morale Boost. That way they actually had better defense. They actually did more than you were doing, because you maxed out Aggression. You didn't go for Cauterize, you didn't go for Wrecker, you didn't go for Reload. You went for Aggression. And it was stupid. I mean, it worked every now and then, but you would pretty much say, okay, who's got Aggression? Victor's got Aggression, I'm buying Haven. So that was the first thing to know. Now I want to talk about Chronos. Chronos is the same boat. A lot of healers have very good ults. Very good, very spammy ults. Why did I not the button I wanted to do? Saris is a champion that I would prefer morale boost on. Genos, morale boost. Grover, morale boost. Grok, morale boost. Furia, not so much. Damba, morale boost. Pip. Pretty much, Furia is the only champion that out of this group that I wouldn't buy morale boost for. Ying should have it off the bat. Damba and Saris need it more often because they're CC based. Genos is printed, and then you have Grover who buff his healing more. Grok, he can pick it up just because he needs it faster. So let me show you this. So right now I have a 6-second cooldown on this ability. And we're going to wait for that little star to go away. It should be 12 seconds. So right about now. Timed it. Now, if I were to buy Chronos on this build, we max Chronos out, I have a 5-second cooldown. So I've spent 2,400 credits to get a 1% cooldown. Now, I could look at this and say, but I'm able to reduce the cooldown on my Void Grip by 3 seconds. On Genos, it's not worth it, because I benefit more from maxing out morale boost. Now, a champion that does need Chronos is Grok. And I'm going to demonstrate this. This is a newer build that I've been running with. But, so what we're going to do is we are going to max out Chronos again.
How do I look?
So, I'm dropping a totem, and the duration on the totem lasts a very long time. I have a 1-second cooldown. With Chronos 3, I have a 1-second cooldown in between the duration of the totem. Plain and simple. So, Chronos is better on Rock. Now, another thing a lot of people talk about is on Tyra. And this is something I find very important. We're going to go to Leanne. Yeah, we'll go to Leanne.
I should spend this pittance.
Electricity. Now, I run a build like this, where I have eliminations reducing all cooldowns by 50%. What does this build allow me to do? Let's go over to the sky shooting range, and I'll show you. There goes all my cooldowns again. There goes all my cooldowns again.
Triple kill. Killing spree. Quadra kill. Pentakill. That's 5 in a row. Hexakill. Hexakill. Unstoppable. Hexakill. Hexakill. Savage. Hexakill. Hexakill. Immortal.
And there we go.
Hexakill. Hexakill.
Are you tired of Bomb King screaming Hexakill? That's what an elimination build allows you to do. So now we're going to change this up. So we're still going to run Electricity. And this is at level 1. This is my sustain build, kind of. Now what's the difference on this? Now the difference on this is I'm going to max out Chronos.
Valuable item. Should have surrendered. Out of my way.
Annihilation! Triple kill. Quadra kill. Pentakill.
Never dies.
See how slow my cooldown rate is right now?
Double kill. Triple kill. Quadra kill. Pentakill.
Alright, I'm done with that. Now, the difference there was I got 13 kills in a row on that build literally by just spamming a combination of my buttons because of the fact that I didn't really have to do much to get it. I was getting eliminations and they were resetting my cooldowns more than Chronos was. So high-level Chronos is not a good thing on a damage dealer that has that type of a card. Ah, fuck it. Wrong button again. Now, if we look at a champion that doesn't have that type of a cooldown reduction card that maybe benefits from Chronos, let us take a look at Furia. Most people want to run Solar Blessing. Now, I'm going to talk to you about Refreshing Light, because Refreshing Light is the card that I like to run. This is a reset build. Now, let me see, 3,400. I'm not going to bother with the credit. I need to max up Chronos. I need, what, 800? Yeah, I need 2,400. So I have to get some kills in order to... I'm doing this just to build credits. I apologize. enough? No, 1,600 bucks.
Show them no mercy.
Burning old.
Double kill. That's 9 in a row.
You monsters to live. Show them no mercy.
That's 11 in a row. Double kill. Godlike. Triple kill.
Alright, this should be the last one.
15 in a row.
No! I still need credits. God damn it. Now we're at the boring part of the video of me just shooting bots trying to get credits.
Show them no mercy. Purify.
They just can't get away from me. Double kill. Triple kill.
Show them no mercy.
Double kill. Triple kill.
I'm just off.
Show them no mercy. By fire be cleansed.
Double kill.
Like this.
2410. There we go. Alright. My apologies for the boring ass part here. So we're going to show off the build. This is the build. So this is Solar Blessing with Refreshing Light, as I was showing off. So basically, every individual orb of your Wings of Wrath will reduce the cooldown of your Pyre by 3 seconds. Plus, you can reduce the cooldown of your Wings of Wrath by 5 seconds when you hit a Pyre Strike. Now, to put that into perspective, you have a cooldown of 12 seconds on the Pyre and 10 seconds on Wings of Wrath. So hitting a Pyre Strike will cut the cooldown on your Wings of Wrath in half, and you get 3 orbs on your Wings of Wrath. So hitting all 3 of those orbs will reduce the cooldown on your Pyre Strike by 9 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the Solar Blessing. We are going to dash away. I don't know. I'll wait for the... I'll trigger it here. Really? I'm going to hit the healing beam on him. Reduce the cooldown. There's the orb. That reduces the cooldown. I get it on Nendo.
By fire be
Beam on him.
cleansed. The pyre claims you.
And then we're going to pause it. I'm going to buy max chronos. And we're going to see the difference on how fast it really is. Okay, so we'll turn this on.
Gracias for the healing.
So we see when I burn Wings of Wrath, it drops the cooldown to 7 seconds. And when I burn my Pyre Strike, it drops the cooldown. The Pyre Strike is down to 10 seconds. Now, you know what the problem with all that is? I've wasted 2,400 credits. I wasted 2,400 credits on Furia to get a grand total cooldown reduction of 5 seconds off of 2 abilities. On Genos, I got 4 seconds off of 2 abilities. On Leanne, I got 3 seconds off of 3 abilities. That's totals amount. Grok was the only champion that I actually got a substantial amount of cooldown reduction off of. Now, this is why I make the argument that a lot of champions don't need it. I chose Leanne because I do Tyra way too much, and Leanne is in the same boat. She has a card that reduces cooldowns on elimination, which is how you want to be played as more of a frontline type character. There's a reason why snipers don't have a cooldown reduction card, because they're not really meant to be in the fray constantly spamming abilities. I don't know why I have it on Strix, I need it on Canessa. And they were gracious enough to give Bomb King a cooldown elimination card, because realistically he is a closer range champion. So, that gives him a lot of power. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Most of this was just me spamming bullets as furious, so